Hey everybody, today I'm going to walk you through a complete tutorial on how to install Windows XP on a computer system. And I'm going to be doing a reinstall of Windows XP on a Dell Dimension 4600 desktop computer. And now let's go ahead and get started. First off, here's a hard drive. I had to pull it out of the machine because Windows has gotten so corrupt to the point to where it wouldn't even start. So I gotta access the hard drive to get the files and stuff off of it. And first thing first, with many Dells, and actually some other computers out there too, especially if it's a factory install of Windows, if you can navigate to the drivers folder, let me go and show you here. This is the hard drive from a Dell. And of course, if it was actually installed on a computer, it would probably be local disk C, but in this case, this computer is calling it local disk G. And you should see a folder called drivers. And you'll have drivers for audio, modem, network, system, video. We'll go ahead and copy these files to my backup folder. And create a new folder. We're going to call this Dell. And we have pasted the files right here. So next thing I'll be doing is I'm going to be backing up the owner's documents and stuff, but I'm not going to record video of that because I don't want to expose their personal information to YouTube. Okay, all files have been backed up and I got the drivers on file. And next step will be to go ahead and install Windows XP. We'll more or less reinstall. I've already stuck the Windows XP CD into the CD drive. I'm going to start the computer. And of course, one thing that's important to do is hit F12, because sometimes the computer's boot settings will tell it to boot from the hard drive before looking at the CD drive. So you can either hit F12 or go into the BIOS settings and actually change the boot device settings. But in this case, like I said, it's hit F12 and you just go in here and select your CD-ROM device. And go ahead and press the key to boot from CD. Now you're going to see this blue screen. This is called the text setup of XP, of Windows XP. Of course, Windows Vista and Windows 7, it's all through a GUI interface where you have your mouse cursor and all that through the entire setup process, which is much more friendly for average people, average Joes who don't know much about setting up operating systems. Of course, the Windows XP setup, the text portion may scare some people out of messing with installing Windows XP. And of course, if you have a SCSI RAID device or AHCI SATA device, you would press F6 as soon as you see this blue screen. You probably saw the prompt at the bottom of the screen. I'm not sure if you did or not, but you would press F6 and you'd have to have a floppy disk drive in order to load the drivers. Okay, now it says Windows XP Home Edition Setup, and of course if it was professional or media center, it would say Windows XP Professional Setup. Go ahead and press Enter. It's going to examine your disk, and you have to press F8 to agree to license terms. Now what this does here is it looks for previous versions of installed Windows, such as another copy of XP, and it's going to ask you if you want to repair it. Since we want to reinstall the operating system, we want to not repair it, so we press the escape key. Now look at all these partitions. We have several partitions here. We have this small fat partition of 39 megabytes, the main partition, which is almost about 72 gigs, this other partition, which is about 3.5 gigs. I believe this is a recovery partition, but of course the computer is so old to nowadays where you're better off just having a fresh install Windows XP, seeing that the COA is provided on the side machine. So we're going to go ahead and clear out all of these partitions, and of course this wipes out every bit of data on the computer. So if you haven't backed up your information, please do it now. Please shut your computer off and go ahead and back up your data before you go through this step. So we're going to go ahead and press D to delete this partition, and press L to delete. Now we're going to go ahead and delete this one. Actually, hit the wrong key, excuse me. I'm going to delete this partition, and of course, since it's a system partition, it's going to ask you if you want to continue. Press enter, and press L to delete. Press D to delete this final partition, and press L. So now we have no more partitions on the hard drive, so now we can go ahead and install. We're going to go ahead and format using the NTFS file system. I recommend not doing the quick, because sometimes doing the quick format can cause problems in the future. This will go ahead and format, and this will take a little while too, so be patient. Go ahead and find something else to do while this goes on, because it can take an extremely long amount of time if you have a big hard drive in your computer. Now the setup program is going to examine the disk and it's going to copy some files over. This may take a few minutes. Now the computer's going to restart. And this time around, if you get a prompt to that's asking if you want to boot off CD to press any key, don't press any key, because you want to boot off the hard drive this time. Now we're in the GUI section of the Windows XP setup program. And of course, what it's going to do is it's installing some drivers, and it's going to ask you for your product key, network settings, that sort of stuff, and it's going to play a loop of information about Windows XP, depending on what version you're installing. To be honest with you, it's kind of funny to look at this information considering how old the operating system is, and consider how much better technology has gotten over the years. I'm going to get a better view here, or at least try to anyway. The way you can read what's on the screen a little bit better, possibly. As you can see, it's installing devices right now. Okay, here is the portion of setup where it asks you for information such as your product key, your name, all that. Now this right here is not really specific. All you have to do, you don't have to type your actual name, you can just type user. And of course, when you create, this right here doesn't create your user account. This is, when you create your user account, that'll be on a later portion of the installation. Now I'm going to type the product key. Okay, now Windows XP Setup is asking for a computer name. And of course, I highly recommend that you change it for what XP defaults it to, because it can be hard to remember. And Windows Vista and Windows 7 don't even put in a predefined name. You have to actually give it a name. So I do recommend you go ahead and change it, because look here, currently it says user-B1742AC199. It's going to be quite hard to remember that, so let's go ahead and change it to something that's easier to remember. And since it's being a computer that I'm working on, I give it a specific name. Okay, this computer name is going to be C3 Service -53. Go ahead and select your time zone, which in this location is Eastern Time, and verify the time is correct. This needs to be 51. And click next. And Windows XP will install the network, and sometimes it'll prompt you with another question about your networking settings. Which in this case it did not. Probably because there's no driver located on the Windows XP disk for the network controller. Usually when Windows XP does find a network controller, it will ask you a question about network settings. So Morris is going to finish copying some more files and a couple other things, and then the setup will be finished. It's funny, it says try the easiest Windows yet. Yeah, it's no longer the easiest Windows, I tell you that. Windows 7 is a whole lot easier to use and install. It says completing installation. Now, of course, if you're wondering about this timer here, it's usually incorrect. They got rid of this little timer in Windows Vista install, the Windows Vista installation, and the Windows 7 installation, and the Windows 8 installation, because this number here will count down faster, especially if it's on a faster computer. This little countdown thing, it was a feature that come from the Windows 98 installer. I'm sure it's probably available in Windows ME and Windows 2000 as well, though I haven't installed those two operating systems, so I don't know for sure. It says install and start menu items. And here's one thing to note. If you're installing Windows XP Media Center Edition 2005, during this area of setup, or throughout the entire setup, you'll be prompted for the second disk if it's a 2-disc set. So keep an eye on the computer when it's installing. And of course, if you're wondering which installer I like better, of course you're going to hear me say Windows Vista or Windows 7, because in the Vista and 7 installers, you select the partition you want to install Windows to, and then it'll say that's all the information we need right now, and it'll do everything else on its own. And then eventually it'll ask you for your user account information. If you want to create any user accounts on the computer, how many you want to create, that sort of stuff. Well, actually in Vista 7 you create one, and then once you finish the installation, you can create others. Well, on the other hand, with Windows XP, you have to keep an eye on the installation, because right slap in the middle of the installation, it's going to ask you for a product key, the username, date and time, all that sort of stuff. That's just ridiculous. And when it comes up to that point and you're not around, your computer just sits there waiting on you to go in and enter information. That's why I don't like the Windows XP installer. The Vista and 7 installers are so much more efficient, not to mention much easier to use. See, what I'm saying about the timer is it's not accurate. I mean, it was really a waste of space putting it there. Just surely a minute has not passed. See, it just this little timer is supposedly an estimate, and I'm pretty sure that they probably use a Pentium 2 to estimate the time, because I mean this is a Pentium 4 machine and it's blowing through the time real quick. I mean, I remember back when I used to install Windows XP on the Mid-Tower Deluxe years ago. It had a SATA hard drive, and it had see, way back in the day I had a Pentium 4 setup, but then later on it had a AMD Socket 754 K8 setup, Athlon 64 setup, and I remember it used to just absolutely blow through the installer, the Windows XP installer. And the setup here is near completion. It's funny, it says we have 5 minutes left, but of course that's not correct. And it's funny here, it says record a CD as easily as saving information to a floppy disk. You can tell this is old operating system when you look at these little information bits about the operating system. It says CD recordable CDR drives and CD RW drives are now affordable options on most home computers. This is before the days of well, they did have DVD burners back then, but they were very rare, and I'm sure they were really expensive too. And of course, nowadays it's pretty much standard to find a DVD burner on a basic computer. Even budget machines tend to have them. Okay, the computer's restarting again. And of course, you'll get prompted if you want to boot from the CD or not. You can just press the key, but of course, do not press the key because the installation is pretty much finished. And I'm going to go ahead and cover a little tutorial here about how to fix this little problem here. So we'll go ahead and just press enter. It's asking about display settings. Now, in some cases, if the motherboard's graphics driver is not installed, this occurs a lot of times with Intel graphics setups. As you see, it just did right here. It will bypass the username and activation and all that junk. It couldn't, because it wouldn't go into 800 by 600 resolution. So unfortunately that portion got omitted from the tutorial, but more or less what would have happened is it would have it just said welcome to Windows XP, and you click a little button in the right to start the setup, and you would enter in your user account information, all that kind of stuff. Sometimes you get prompted if you want to activate Windows or not. It would check for an internet connection, all that stuff. Now you're probably saying, oh yeah, we're done. Actually, no, we're not. There's quite a bit more to do, and of course Windows XP really wants to talk to me. I'm having to close all these balloons. Anyways, now we actually got the main portion of the operating system installed. Okay, now back to that little issue that we just saw, where we had two selections pop up for Windows XP. Let's go ahead and get that fixed. Okay, so what I want to do here is go and right click on my computer and select properties. And of course everything's real big because the graphics driver is not installed. We'll go over to the Advanced tab. And we'll click on Startup and Recovery. And we'll click on Settings here. And we're going to click on this Edit button. What this is going to do is going to pop up the boot file. So anyways, it says to edit the startup options file manually, click Edit. Now, you have to be extremely careful right here. Because if you mess this up, Windows will not start. So what to do here is delete the bottom list here. I'll go ahead and full screen this so I can see a little better. But notice these are pretty much almost the same. Right, click here. Let's see, you have everything selected. I'm going to select it again. Right click and say delete and click on save. Now that problem's fixed. I'll go ahead and restart this to show you. Okay, now Windows XP starts like it's supposed to. Okay, the next portion of setting up Windows XP will be to install Service Pack 3 if you're using an older disk. In this case, we'll use a disk that included Service Pack 2, so we need to install Service Pack 3 along with Internet Explorer 8 and other updates and drivers, that sort of stuff. So actually the first thing I'm going to do is install drivers. Okay, now since Windows is installed, we'll go ahead and install our drivers, and I decided to go ahead and just download the driver packages from Dell. So that way I can show you the process of installing particular drivers on this computer. So we'll go ahead and plug in our flash drive, which I had to store into a flash drive because the network driver is not installed right now. Because normally what I do is if the computer has a network driver already installed, I can access my computer through the network and access drivers that way, but in this case we have to use a flash drive. So I have to let the flash drive install, which doesn't take long at all. Okay, since it went ahead and pulled everything up, and I gotta figure out which drivers here are the ones for this computer. So we got R58201, R67 150. Let's see, R94 481 and R106 458. I had some other Dell driver packages on this flash drive as it was. I'm going to move these to the desktop temporarily. Now, what I'm going to do here is install the chipset driver first. Just got to figure out which one it is. This is the chipset software installation utility, which of course on different computers the driver installation procedure will vary. You have a look at that Internet Explorer 6 in 2012, 11-year-old browser. Okay, now the wizard is completed. And we'll say no, we'll start the computer later. Click finish, and we're going to go ahead and install the next driver. And after we finish installing all the drivers, we'll go ahead and restart the computer. This is the LAN driver. And it kind of irks me when they can't even, when you extract the file, it kind of irks me when it doesn't pull up the setup. So it tells you have to navigate to the folder. It's installing the network drivers right now. So you can see or not, Windows XP is now connecting to the LAN. Right there. Says the drivers were successfully installed. Now move on to the next software package, or driver package. This is the audio driver. It's the second time it's popped up now saying keep your computer up to date. It's like Windows XP just loves to talk to you. We'll say no to restarting the computer because we got a couple more things to install. We got this last package here. This is the graphics controller. After running this driver package, we'll restart the computer. Something you may say, you should restart the computer after every driver installed, but well, anyways, ignore this here. I don't know. This thing on Windows XP loves to pop up the Found New Hardware Wizard every time, almost every time you go to install a driver. Anyways, what I was saying is some people may say you should restart the computer after each driver install, but I've done it this way for years and years and never had any problems. So go ahead and restart the computer now. Went ahead and plugged in my speaker so we can hear the sound working when it comes back. Which will now have sound. Now since all the drivers are installed, we'll go ahead and start setting up Windows XP. Go ahead and set the resolution to a more appropriate setting for this monitor. And let me go ahead and show you something else. The dumb thing about Windows XP that I never seem to like is by default it has clear type turned off. For those who don't know, clear type is the font smoothing setting that's enabled by default in Windows Vista and Windows 7. And originally when Microsoft said it was designed for LCD displays, but I've even found that clear type works very well on CRTs too, the old tube displays. So anytime you have Windows XP, I recommend you go into your settings, well actually your Appearance tab, click on Effects, and this setting right here, I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see a little better. this setting right here, change that from standard to clear type, and select OK, and select OK on this window here. Now clear type is enabled. And the next thing we'll show you is how to enable clear type in the login screen. You have to go into Regedit to do that. You have to navigate to HKey Users, Default, Control Panel, and click on the desktop folder. And over here you'll see right here, font smoothing orientation and font smoothing type. I changed both of these to number 2. This here enables clear type in the welcome screen. I'll go ahead and log out and show you. Okay, now clear type is enabled in the login screen. Next thing we're going to do here is go ahead and install Service Pack 3, seeing that we install with a Service Pack 2 disk, and install Internet Explorer 9 and any other needed updates. So now I'll go ahead and navigate to my network location where these files are at. And in Windows XP Home, you have to click on View, Toolbars, and click on the address bar, so that way you'll have the address bar. And first thing I install is this Windows XP Daylight Savings Time update. See, the thing about Windows XP is, seeing this older operating system, it doesn't have the newer Daylight Savings Time settings that went into effect a couple years ago. And surprisingly enough, the update is not included in Service Pack 3. So we're going to go ahead and install this update first, because if we install Service Pack 3 and then try to run this update, it won't successfully install. It only takes less than a minute or so to install this update. This way the Daylight Savings Time settings in Windows XP will be correct for the new Daylight Savings Time settings that are in effect now. Now we'll go ahead and run Service Pack 3. Of course, another thing that kind of annoys about Windows XP is before it's activated, it annoys the heck out of you to activate it. While Windows Vista and Windows 7 stay quiet until the last couple of days in the activation trial period thing. But at the same time, it's a good reminder to make sure that Windows does get activated before you finish the computer. Anyways, let's now go and run the Service Pack 3 update. Then click on Next, agree to terms, click Next, and Next again. And this may take a little while to install. Now I'm going to restart the computer. Here it's asking about automatic updates. I'm going to say we're not right now because we're in the process of getting stuff installed, and then we'll worry about automatic updates. Now, of course, many out there believe that the standard Windows XP theme is getting a bit old looking, isn't it? Well, let me show you something that I use when I do installations of Windows XP. It's called the Royale Remix theme. I have to say Windows XP is probably the most unfriendly networking operating system out there. It's like it supports it, but it's not doesn't friendly support it. Now, in order to install the Royale Remix theme, we have to run it what's called a UX theme patcher. This is the UX theme multi-patcher version 6.10. It's asking me what version of Windows is on the machine, if it's correct. And it is, so okay. And what's going on right now is the file, the uxtheme.dll file is getting patched right now. And Windows File Protection is going to pop up. I'm going to say cancel. You say yes when keep the unrecognized file version. Click OK on this. And click OK to restart. Now go ahead and install the Royale Remix theme package. And hit OK on the display properties thing. It pops up to apply a theme, and this here looks a whole lot better. Don't you think? Now, it's going to continue on. We'll go ahead and install Internet Explorer 8. You can either say you want to help or to say don't want to participate right now. Accept terms, install updates, and let this utility run. And the reason why there's a big X next to checking your computer for malicious software is because the latest version of the malicious software removal tool has not been installed yet. After this completes and restart the computer, we'll go ahead and activate Windows and install Windows Media Player 11 and Windows Defender and the Antivirus program. And the reason why you can hear the hard drive so loud in this video is because I actually had this computer set to bypass acoustic management on the hard drive. And what this does is allows the hard drive to run at full performance. At peak performance. Go and restart. Notice how the sounds are different. This theme package changes the theme itself, puts in the Windows Vista and Windows 7 style arrow cursor, and changes the sounds. It allows Windows XP to look a little more modern. And in case you're wondering, that Royale theme, the Royale Noir theme that's applied in this package, is an actual Microsoft theme, but it was never officially released. And that's why it requires the UX theme modification in order to work. So now, once we'll go ahead and activate Windows. And it seems like the Windows activation window is the slowest starting program in Windows XP. Funny to note. Anyways, with activation, you should be able to activate over the internet just fine. Now, in some cases, you may have to use the telephone activation, which I have plenty of other videos on my channel of activating copies of Windows over telephone. So you can, I do have Vista, and I also have, I think, Windows 7. We're going to say yes to activate over internet now. No, don't need to register with Microsoft. It's funny, in Windows XP you have to do more clicks to activate Windows rather than in Vista and 7 it's just a couple of clicks or so and you're done. And of course, if we have any issues with activation, it'll tell you right here. This is taking a little bit longer than usual. It's kind of a wait and see ordeal. And it's successfully activated. So now we can go ahead and install Windows Media Player 11 and Windows Defender. Well, first I'm going to run this registry fix for Internet Explorer 8. This right here disables that very annoying tour that's included in Windows Internet Explorer 8. So we'll go ahead and run this and click yes. And now Internet Explorer 8 will not bug you to take its little tour every time you start the browser. Now back to what I was doing. And if you're like me and have the Windows Media Player 11 file on a different computer, you need to copy it and paste it to the local machine. Otherwise, Windows XP will actually completely freeze up and you have to reset the computer. Not sure why, but it does. Of course, Windows Media Player 11 and Windows Defender ask you to validate Windows. That's why I went and activated before installing these programs. Of course, let the installer run. So actually, after this, I'm going to install an antivirus program, and I'm also going to install a thing that's called KLAC Codec Pack, which is a video codec package that allows all sorts of different codecs of videos to play on the computer without any issues. See, normally, especially with Windows XP, you'd have to install all sorts of different codecs. Even just to play a DVD, you have to install a special codec. And this codec package will take care of everything. And I guess also go ahead and install Google Chrome, because I recommend that browser over Internet Explorer any day. I don't understand why people always are using Internet Explorer. I mean, it's not like it's the only browser on the planet. We're going to say Express Settings to get this over with right quick. And of course, now the player is installed. Go ahead and I'll delete this file. Go to my program installers. Now, there's going to be plenty of other programs you'll probably need to install other than what I'm showing you in this video. You'll need to install things such as your Adobe programs like your Reader, your Flash Player, all that. And of course, I recommend that you install some sort of office productivity software such as either Microsoft Office or OpenOffice. I mean, there's just plenty of other things that I recommend that you install after installing what I show you in this video. So we're going to go ahead and install our antivirus, which is AVG free. And this setup file is actually for AVG 2011, but it does install 2012. So you notice it probably says it says AVG 2011 installer, but it will install the AVG 2012 software. And if you're wondering what I think about AVG, used to be back in 2011, I didn't really like it that much. I mean, it protected your computer very good, but it was a very bad resource hog. It used up a lot of memory, and it caused the computer to run very slow. But I think with the 2012 version, they have kind of trimmed it down a little bit to where it wasn't such a resource hog. And it does a very good job of protecting your computer. And of course, it's free. I'm going to accept these terms. Say basic protection. I'm going to select custom install. And I'm going to uncheck the link scanner because I install McAfee Site Advisor, which is the same thing as this, and I think it works a whole lot better than AVG's link scanner. So we're not going to install the link scanner, we're just going to go ahead and install everything else. Now, I do not install the security toolbar, and I do not want to set the secure search as my default search provider. It's going to download some software, and of course this may take a while if you have a slow internet connection. Now I'm going to click finish to finish the installer. The next thing we'll do here is go in here to Tools, click on Advanced Settings, and we'll go in here to Scans. Well, actually, Schedules. Click on Schedule Scan, and click on Enable this task because it's disabled by default in AVG free. And click OK. And now we're done with the antivirus. Now we're going to install the K-Lite codec package. And this is 800 full. The version is I think it's 8.0.0. Not sure what it's actually called on the internet, but it's called K-Lite codec pack. Go ahead and click next. Keep it on advanced mode. Click next, and click on lots of stuff. Next, next, next. Well, if you have a, if your computer has a nice graphics card in it, you can enable this internal decoder. But since this is an older machine, keep this disabled. Click next again, next again, next again. And this machine has 5.1 surround sound, so we're going to click next. And we'll make sure that no free trial, well, not free trial, but it's, this codec pack sometimes it likes to, well, it wants you to install some other bullcrap. A lot of installers like to get a watch for it, but in this case it didn't ask for it, so just went on with the installation. Go ahead and click finish. Now we're running Google Chrome. The setup for Google Chrome, which this is pretty simple. You just double click it, and well, when it asks if you want to run or not, if it asks you, just click on run. And the process here is pretty much automated. It downloads, installs, does all that. And it installs Google Update, which updates the programs for you. Another thing we need to go ahead and do is check for updates. In this case, we're going to go ahead and use Microsoft Update. This pops up in Internet Explorer. And what I want you to do is, the first time it's going to pop up Windows Update, but in this case we're going to say, we'll say install this, but quickly click on Microsoft Update. And it's going to pull up another window. And we'll go ahead and click on Start Now. Click on Continue. Install this ActiveX add-on. Well, Google Chrome's decided it wants to pop back up, so we're going to say Google as our search engine. And notice the browser is pretty fast. Anyways, go back to Microsoft Update. We're going to install this. It's going to download some software. I'm going to do some other things right quick. And on the first run, it's going to want you to install the Windows Genuine Advantage Validation Tool, all that kind of stuff, before you can install other updates. Click on Custom, so we can install any needed driver updates, which we are going to install a driver for the modem. Go ahead and click Yes on this prompt here. And it's going to download and install some upgrade components. That's what I was talking about earlier, the Windows Genuine Advantage Validation Tool and another update package. Install is complete. You're going to click Continue. And we have 113 high priority updates. We had 12 optional software updates and 3 optional hardware updates. These are drivers. Go ahead and install this one for the modem. We're not going to install this one though, because sometimes Windows Update will install a bad driver for graphics adapters. This has happened several times with me. So we're going to not show this update. And we'll go ahead and install the update for the network connection. So go ahead and install updates, and this will take a while. Accept license terms and let them install. Now the updates are installed, go ahead and restart the computer. Now go ahead and install Windows Defender. I meant to do it earlier, but I forgot about it. So I'll go ahead and do it now. Of course, this program requires Windows validation. Accept the agreement. Use recommended settings. Click on Next. Complete install. Okay, the installer is finished. Okay, next thing we'll do is enable automatic updates, and we'll be finished. But of course, I've actually still got more programs to install to this thing, but anyways, we pretty much finished up the installation of Windows XP and a couple of programs. Anyways, any questions or comments, feel free to ask.